Have you ever felt like quitting? Like no matter how hard you try, success just isn't coming? Maybe your business isn't growing. Maybe the bills are piling up. Maybe you've given it everything you've got, but nothing seems to be working. If that's you, I want you to stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Because today, we're going to talk about why you shouldn't give up. Some of the greatest leaders in the Bible faced impossible challenges. They were betrayed, rejected, and even suffered great losses. But they didn't quit. And in the end, they saw breakthroughs bigger than they could have imagined. So before you walk away from your business, your dream, or your calling, let's dive into some powerful biblical wisdom that will help you push through. Because your story isn't over yet. Setbacks are setups for greater success. Imagine working hard, doing everything right, and still facing setback after setback. That was Joseph's life. He had a dream that one day he would be a great leader. But instead of rising to success, he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. It seemed like everything was against him. But Joseph never gave up. Even in slavery, he worked with excellence. Even in prison, he remained faithful. And one day, everything changed. In a single moment, he was pulled out of prison and placed in the palace. He became second in command over all of Egypt. The same brothers who betrayed him had to come to him for help. What if Joseph had given up? What if he had lost faith and stopped pushing forward? Your struggles today are not the end of your story. Just like Joseph, you may be in a season of trials, but that doesn't mean God has forgotten you. Keep working. Keep believing. Because your setback might just be a setup for something greater than you ever imagined. Don't quit too soon. Peter was an experienced fisherman. He knew the waters, the best times to fish, and all the right techniques. But one night, after fishing for hours, he caught absolutely nothing. Can you imagine the frustration? The exhaustion? He had done everything he knew to do, and still, he failed. So when Jesus came and told him to cast his net one more time, Peter hesitated. He had already tried. He had already failed. What was the point of trying again? But he obeyed. He threw his net into the water one more time. And what happened next changed everything. His net filled with so many fish that it started breaking. A moment ago, he had nothing. Now, he had more than he could handle. How often do we give up right before the breakthrough? Maybe you've tried everything in your business, and nothing seems to be working. Maybe you're tired, frustrated, and ready to walk away. But what if your next move is the one that changes everything? Peter's success didn't come because he worked harder. It came because he trusted and obeyed. Sometimes, all it takes is one more step, one more try, one more act of faith. Don't quit too soon. Your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Faithfulness through trials leads to restoration. What do you do when you lose everything? Job was a man of great wealth, success, and influence. He had a thriving business, a large family, and everything he could ever need. Then, in a sudden wave of tragedy, he lost it all. His livestock, his servants, his children, gone. And as if that wasn't enough, he was struck with a painful disease. Everything he had built was taken from him. Even his own wife told him to curse God and give up. His friends accused him, saying he must have done something wrong to deserve such suffering. But Job refused. He didn't understand why he was suffering, but he chose to trust God anyway. He held on when everything in him probably wanted to quit. And in the end, God restored him. Not only did Job receive back everything he lost, but the Bible says God doubled his blessings. He ended up with twice the wealth, twice the livestock, and a family that was even greater than before. If Job had given up, he would have never seen the restoration God had planned. Maybe you're in a season of loss right now. Maybe your business is struggling, and you feel like you've lost everything you worked for. But remember Job. His pain wasn't permanent, and neither is yours. Stay faithful. Keep trusting. Because God is still in the business of restoration. And what's ahead might be greater than anything you've lost. Ignore the noise. Keep building. Have you ever tried to build something, only to face resistance at every turn? That's exactly what Nehemiah experienced. Nehemiah had a mission. To rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. The city had been destroyed, and its people were vulnerable. He knew the job wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to get it done. As soon as he started building, opposition came. His enemies mocked him, saying the wall was too weak and would never stand. They tried to distract him, to discourage him, even to threaten him with violence. But Nehemiah refused to stop. When the threats came, he adjusted his strategy. He told his workers to hold a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other. They kept building while staying ready to defend themselves. And despite all the opposition, they finished the wall in just 52 days. What seemed impossible was completed because Nehemiah stayed focused and refused to quit. In business, distractions and opposition will come. There will be people who doubt you. There will be setbacks that make you question if it's even worth it. But like Nehemiah, you have to keep building. Ignore the noise. Stay focused on your goal. If God has called you to build something, don't let anything stop you. Because in the end, your persistence will lead to victory. You're on the right path. Some people think that if they face too many struggles, it must mean they're on the wrong path. But Paul's life proves otherwise. Paul was one of the greatest leaders in history. He spread the gospel, planted churches, and wrote much of the New Testament. But his journey wasn't easy. He was beaten, arrested, shipwrecked, and even left for dead. He faced hunger, rejection, and constant danger. If anyone had a reason to quit, it was Paul. But he never did. Even when he was locked in prison, he didn't lose hope. Instead of complaining, he wrote letters that still impact millions today. Instead of quitting, he kept pushing forward. He said in 2 Corinthians 4 verses 8-9, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." Paul understood something powerful. Challenges don't mean failure. They mean you're making an impact. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't a threat. So if you're facing resistance, if your business feels like a constant uphill battle, don't assume it's time to quit. It might mean you're on the right path. Paul kept going, and his work changed the world. What if your perseverance is leading to something just as powerful? Keep pushing forward. The impact you're making is bigger than you realize. After looking at these powerful biblical stories, what can we learn? How can you apply this wisdom to your business right now? 1. Keep going, even when it's hard. Every great biblical leader faced struggles. Joseph was betrayed. Job lost everything. Nehemiah faced opposition. Paul was beaten and imprisoned. But they didn't quit. And neither should you. Success often comes right after the hardest moments. 2. Shift your perspective. Setbacks are lessons, not roadblocks. Joseph's years in prison prepared him for leadership. Peter's empty nets made room for a miracle. Job's suffering led to double restoration. What if your struggles are preparing you for something greater? Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" 3. Stay faithful and trust God's timing. Sometimes, we want success right now. But God's timing is perfect. If Peter had given up before casting his net again, he would have missed the breakthrough. If Nehemiah had let the opposition distract him, the wall would have never been finished. Keep trusting, keep working, and let God handle the timing. 4. Take strategic action and stay focused. Faith isn't about just waiting. It's about doing. Nehemiah built with a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other. Paul kept writing and preaching, even in prison. Keep moving forward, keep learning, keep refining your strategy. Your next step could be the one that changes everything. 5. Surround yourself with encouragement. Job's wife told him to give up. Nehemiah's enemies mocked him. Paul was constantly under attack. But they all stayed connected to God and surrounded themselves with the right people. Don't try to do this alone. Find mentors, a community, and most importantly, stay in God's presence. No matter how tough things get, remember this. Your story isn't over. Keep pushing. Keep believing. Keep building. Because just like Joseph, Peter, Job, Nehemiah, and Paul, your perseverance will lead to something greater than you can imagine. If Joseph had given up in prison, he would have never ruled in the palace. If Peter had walked away, he would have never seen his miracle. If Nehemiah had listened to his enemies, the walls of Jerusalem would have never been rebuilt. And if you give up now, you may never see the breakthrough that's waiting for you. So I want to challenge you. Don't quit. Keep pushing. Keep trusting. Keep building. Because your success could be just one step away. Drop a comment below and share. What's one challenge you're facing in your business right now? Let's encourage each other and stand in faith together. And if this video encouraged you, hit that like button and subscribe for more biblical wisdom to help you grow your business. Remember what Galatians 6 verse 9 says. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Your harvest is coming. Keep going.